where do you want to go?
Okay, we'll go to our friend Matt because he always gives us money. Thank you, Matt. The division is tight and there's limited arms. Dave, I assume he means Dave Roberts, managed his arsenal better than Mike Schilt. I'd argue punting games helped win the World Series list last year. It's why Dave is a Hall of Famer and outsmarted Schilt going back to last year.
Bullpen days, baby. I mean, isn't that absurd, though? Dodgers 5-man rotation includes 2 bullpen days and then a reliever, Ben Kasparius, who started against the Padres and choked them. I was analytics guys. Dodgers analytics guys right now are better than Padres analytics guys. All you needed to see was what happened on bullpen days here and what happened, obviously, in the National League playoffs last year.
Well, the thing that I noticed, especially in last night's or yesterday's game, is that by using Sauer in game 2 and having him go 111 pitches and 4 and whatever innings, they saved all their bullpen pieces. And so they had all the lefties like Banda and what's the other guy? Vesia, and those guys are all ready to go. And the Padre lineup is already too lopsided with left-handed hitters. I mean, think about it. You got Jackson Merrill's kind of in a little bit of a slump here. You got Cronenworth, who hasn't been the same Cronenworth for 3 years. And then you got Tyler Wade in there, sometimes batting lefty.
And you got Arise swinging the first pitches out of the strike zone because that's who Arise is.
Yeah, and he doesn't hit with any pop. And then Gavin Sheets is a lefty who's a dead duck against the lefty pitcher most of the time. So, I think the Dodgers analytics guys and, Roberts pushing the buttons, they know how to make it win.
Okay. Matt sure sounds like he's wearing Dodger blue.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of Dodger blue folks out there.
That's okay.
It's all good. All good. What is it? Well, this is an interesting comment from Matt. He threw some money at it. Thanks, Matt. Hey, felt weird watching the series with the commotion going on in SoCal. I'll be at PSG Sunday, and now I'm hearing ICE will be security at the Club World Cup. Is that what that says?
Yes.
Tickets are now $17 to $40 for some midweek games.
There's a big issue. The Club World Cup is going to be played at all different venues. And some of the price tags, I wrote about this on my website during the course of the week. Some of the prices, they're just not selling tickets. In Miami, where Lionel Messi is going to play in one of the games for his club in the World Cup for Inter Miami, the tickets, nobody's buying them. And the prices are really high in some places. Other places, the prices are really low. I was told in Seattle, they were selling tickets for $32, and they weren't selling them. So there's something weird going on as it relates to how soccer fan is responding. Now, I was told in some of the other venues where Boca, the Argentinian team, their game's sold out. So some of the clubs are selling well, other games are not selling very well, and then we obviously have the real bad situation in the Los Angeles market at the Rose Bowl, and ICE and immigration. Holy cow! Is this going to blow up? Is this going to really be bad for the Club World Cup thing? This is the first year they started with the 32 teams, and how does this? If this does not get solved, how does this impact World Cup fans coming from abroad that want to see their teams play here in the U.S., Mexico, and Canada a year from this week?
It's I'm a newbie soccer fan too. I've been following World Cup for a long time, but now I'm really following the MLS, right? And I'll be honest, it's weird the way the season works in soccer, and you're not sure what I'm doing during each of these segments because baseball, football, basketball, they got a full season, but with soccer they take a break for Championship League, and then this Club World Cup is another thing, and sometimes you'll look at the San Diego FC schedule and you'll see all the regular MLS teams, but then in the mix you'll see these international teams,
friendlies,
and so you're thinking, okay, like is that considered a more premium game to go see the international talent, or is it better to go see them play the Galaxy? What's the hotter ticket? And I'd imagine this sort of thing happens in France and Germany and England and everywhere else. So to me, it's confusing.
Well, it's more complicated because of what's going on with immigration in our country. And what the White House has done. I mean, this whole thing in LA, I mean, how does this damage the game they're going to host at the Rose Bowl? Holy cow.
Well, I mean, we've got that. We've got the Rose Bowl, but we're going to have the Olympics coming to LA. And there was one other big thing coming to LA.
The NHL draft.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's going to be fixed, but good news is the thing in LA is relatively speaking small. It's just being blown out of proportion.
Okay.
We're not going to go down that slippery slope. Okay, let's keep moving along here. And okay, yeah, let's go to hobby. Hacksaw, you keep asking, how do the Dodgers stay in first? A great man once said, if you don't know, now you know.
Well, they're hitting their way. I mean, hitting the hell out of the ball. That's why the Dodgers are in first place. I think the team batting average is like 270 now, which is pretty impressive. And they do stroke home runs along the way. They're just trying to buy time. They're trying to keep their head above water till the injured guys come back, till Ohtani gets here. Looks like Ohtani's going to be the first one. And then Emmett Sheehan will be the second one. I mean, I don't know any window on Glass now. Yeah, he threw 95 in his bullpen, but that doesn't mean anything because you have to see how he feels. And that's not max effort for, 80 pitches. And he keeps breaking down. And his mechanics, they change his mechanics and something else doesn't feel right. And Snell, that looks like this might turn out to be a lost cause season for him, but they're hitting the hell out of the ball. And I think that's the reality as to why they're in first place. And the Padres are just not a complete team. And the Giants, they have been a surprise to me. I'll be honest with you. But their pitching's taking on a little water right now. Who would have thought Justin Verlander would have one win or no wins this late into the season? But he's been hurt. And Arizona's lost 3 starters. And the loss of Corbin Burns, I think, is catastrophic. And Arizona, I don't think, has really adequately replaced Christian Walker, who jumped to Houston. They got Josh Naylor from Cleveland. I thought, well, he's going to step in and he's going to do a job, but he's not hitting very many home runs in Arizona either. So D-backs, they might be a 500 team right now. I thought they were going to be right there in the chase for the wild card spot, but they've lost so many pitchers, and that they got the whole of first base too.
It's incredible what's going on with that Dodger pitching staff. Mm-hmm. Because I was thinking about this, is that you remember when Sauer goes 4 innings, 111 pitches, the Padres have no one like that. No, that they could bring in, because you can't give it to like a 20-year-old kid that you bring up from AA and have him go out there and get shell shocked, so they don't even have that. So it just makes me think that Dodger pitching depth goes so deep throughout that organization. Then it makes me wonder, how are they managing the 40-man roster? Because they got to keep adding guys and subtracting guys. And doesn't that count for a couple of notches as far as eligibility or?
Well, I think most of those guys
waivers?
are on the 40. What they have to do, though, is if you take a guy from the 40, he's been at Oklahoma City, and you're going to put him on the 25.
Right.
You got to bump somebody out of the 25. And if the guy's out of options, then you got to DFA him, and you risk losing him because he's got to go on waivers.
Yeah.
But they seem to be able to get guys on and off their roster. And I swear to you, John, they've figured a way to do the system. They call guys up. You're allowed, I think you're allowed to recall John Riley from Oklahoma City 5 times in a year.
Yeah, yeah.
That rule was just put into effect, I think, last year. The Dodgers do that. They've got 3 or 4 guys that they'll just, when it comes their turn to pitch and the Dodgers are in a hole, they'll bring up Landon Knack. Or they'll bring up the left-hander Wroblewski, and they'll get 1 start and hope they do well, and then they'll option them back. And you can do that 5 times with each of those guys. Dodgers do it more than anybody. But to get to your point, which is a very valid point, they got depth in numbers. They can do it because they got guys stockpiled at Oklahoma City that can give them some innings. I don't see that at El Paso. I think that's an inherent problems the Padres have right now, is they don't have anybody that they can really bring up. Burgett is an example of a guy who could be up and back.
Yeah.
Kyle Hart, up and back. But do they give any quality? Kyle Hart has not.
No.
Burgett has. Kolek. I don't know where the Padres would be were it not for Kolek and Burgett and Vasquez quality innings.
Vasquez has been fun to watch.
Yeah.
You're always on the edge of your seat when he pitches. But, it's interesting is we have talked a lot about the Dodger way, and has LA lost the Dodger way because of all these pitchers blowing out their arms. Mm-hmm. But meanwhile, the organization is smart enough to think of how they can build that minor league system so they have this pipeline of depth flowing through. It's remarkable, really.
So that's where we are. Thank you for the input. He asked a short question. We gave you a long answer. Good to have you on board. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Hector. He says, hey, Lee, the Dodgers have figured it out. They're playing chess while the Padres continue to play checkers. They just won a World Series using this out-getter strategy that the Brewers originated. Padres should have won. Never gets old.
Well, Padres should have won. They've come close, and we can be very positive about the quality of the product and the fan support and all that. But at the end of the day, I haven't gotten a World Series credential to cover a Padre World Series game at Petco Park yet. He hasn't.
No.
You haven't bought a ticket to see a World. That's the end game. So, unless you're just going for the social event, which is Gallagher Square in downtown, the Gaslamp Quarter in Petco Park, and that's okay. It's quite an expensive night out now, but they just haven't gotten there, and I don't know. You're going to get upset, so I just won't say by next Thursday night the Padres' pennant hopes could really be damaged.
Yeah, see, I think you're jumping off a cliff already. I need to reel you back a bit. Yeah, that could happen. Anything can happen, right? But they're going to end up being like they're going to go 3-4, or maybe 2-5 on that strip. It's a tough road trip for them. But what's interesting is about the Dodgers front office, and people have always praised the organization and how well they do it, development and everything else. But isn't it incredible how if you compare the LA Dodgers with a team we were talking about earlier in the podcast, the Cincinnati Bengals? I mean, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
And so your owner, your company philosophy, how you build out your whole support structure, you could have something really robust like the Dodgers, or some skeleton that doesn't really even function in Cincinnati.
Concur. Great organizations win.
Yes.
And the Dodgers have won and won and won, and the Yankees have won and won and won more than probably anybody else. Okay, move on.
Moving on. There's a lot of Padres Dodgers talk. Go here to Jason. He goes, Tatis must have something going on. Everything he hits is on the ground, not driving the ball.
I think he's lost strength in the left arm. There's something here with the forearm that has taken away some of the power. It might be oblique. It's not leg related. It's not quad, because he would not be flying in the outfield chasing everything from the foul line to dead center. So I think there's something physically wrong with him, and maybe it's just a loss of strength and his inability. But he's not getting the pitches that he got to before. Yeah, he gets an occasional home run and la-di-da, but he's also, month of May, he hit 188. This is your superstar. It's kind of hard to believe. They're not talking about it, but I think there's something physically wrong there.
Talk show batting coaches. That's us. We've analyzed the video. We know what's going on here. I'll tell you what, when I see him hitting, he tops the ball. So it's like a chopper into the ground, which goes to the left side of the infield. There's been a lot of that. So to me, it seems like his legs are coming up, so he gets on top of it. But, it's like, the wrist bone is connected to the elbow bone, connected to the shoulder bone. So you have one thing, it just affects the whole swing.
Yeah, I concur. But I don't understand if it's just mechanical. These guys, these coaches, Victor Rodriguez, these guys study video every minute of every day.
Right.
Why would you not be solving if it's just mechanical? That's why I think it's physical.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I don't know. You can't solve my problems. I got them all over the place. Okay, next one. Thanks for the call.
Get you in the Padre dugout. Okay, let's go here to John. He goes, once upon a time, Davey was the Padre bench coach, and I thought the logical candidate to take over from Bud Black. I think Davey might still be holding a grudge. Dave Roberts is like one of those old-time SEC football coaches who can take his and beat yours, and then take yours and beat his. Have to give credit where credit's due. I like Mike Schilt, but Davey is in a class of his own.
Well, again, Roberts has good people above him. Roberts has an organization that has unlimited amounts of dollars to use. I call them Dodger dollars. And so therefore they can buy the best team that is out there, baseball-wise. They develop very well. One thing they can't buy is health, John, and we've talked about that in the past. The Padres, they've spent an enormous amount of capital. They're locked into a lot of long-term contracts, and now there's a lid. They won't say it, but Eric Grupner and the Seidler ownership has put a lid on A.J. Preller. Their payroll, I think, is at 211. I just don't think there's very much more they can take on. And because of length of contracts, that they can't deal some of these guys away, because nobody wants an 8-year contract that, say, Cronenworth has, and nobody's going to take on Bogart's contract, which I don't know how many years it's got left, 7 or 8 years. So they're painted themselves into a corner, and they've traded the whole farm system away 3 different times. So it's tough. It's going to be tough for Preller to be able to do something of real significance. I think he can rent a vet. I made the comment, I like Andrew McCutchen. That's a short-term rental for half a season. I'd do it, but you got to see if Pittsburgh wants to trade him because he's a cornerstone there who signed to stay there because he wants to retire as a Pittsburgh Pirate. But a chance to put McCutchen in a playoff race, I don't know. That's the kind of guy that could be a bit of a rental difference maker, no?
Well, he's a left fielder for sure. I mean, that would be a great fit for the team. But I almost want to go back here to what John's talking about. Davey and Mikey, Dave Roberts and Mike Schill. I love both these guys, but for very different reasons, And, like in one of the Instagram posts that we have on your channel, there is an argument going on amongst some of the fans and talking about, Manny Machado and Dave Roberts got into that thing in the playoffs where, Machado threw the ball back to the dugout and Roberts said it was aimed at my head. And oh my God, you could have gotten someone hurt. But Roberts knew that he was just basically pulling Manny's string, trying to bait him into this kind of a psychological warfare. And granted, I'm a Padre fan, but you gotta give it up for Dave Roberts for doing that because it worked.
And it took a lot of the heat off the Dodger players. Dave made it about him and Manny versus the fact my pitching staff's falling apart, or Freddie Freeman's hurt, or Ohtani's got an issue. So yeah, he did good. I great regard for Dave, and obviously Mike Schilt is an intellect, I think, in the dugout. But I don't think they're playing by the same set of standards because Dodger baseball is very different with Dodger dollars.
It is. It's a whole different thing. So I think as a Padre fan, we got to go after him. We got to slay the dragon. There's always a great, a rival for us to get fired up for, but we have to have realistic expectations.
Please don't tell me the pennant race for the Padres will be over by next Thursday night.
No, the Padres are going to be a solid wild card team. I'm certain of it.
Okay, we move on. John, thanks for being with us.
Okay, let's go here. SGA Sports Talk goes, hey, hi, Lee.
How are you? You got opinions, questions, answers. That's a short statement. That's clear, concise, right to the point.
I think he wants to get his sports channel out, a little plug there for him.
Oh, okay.
Let's go here to Chris. And he goes, hey, Lee bleeping Hamilton. Oilers making a huge mistake keeping Calvin Pickard on the bench tonight. He was clearly the better goaltender before getting hurt. Despite Skinner's glorious mustache, he is unable to stay in position in net, let alone stop pucks.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be very interesting because I think Edmonton's defense is going to have to change everything that's happening right and around that paint. They can't let those guys camp or get into the blue ice. They got to give Skinner room to breathe. Skinner, I thought, reacted really badly very early on, but I thought he was having a terrible time locating pucks because there's so much traffic in front of him, Chris. And I just think that they're going to have to solve this problem in front. And at the same time, I have no doubt that Florida is going to come out and be doing this all the time. Whistle stops, boom. I just think that Edmonton is going to have to control their emotions, but they're going to have to stand up and man up from the opening faceoff, especially in front of Stuart Skinner. They give him breathing room, let him do what he does so he can actually start making saves because it was hopeless. He was going down. He didn't know where the puck was. There's so much traffic in front of him. So we'll see if the chemistry of what happens on the ice changes with this next game.
Yeah, this is a really fun final.
Yep.
And what's interesting is getting to know the players, right? It's like the goalies are hard too because they have the whole mask in front of them. It's like following an offensive lineman. You don't get to see them. But in this case, Chris is right. Skinner's mustache is fantastic. And I saw a picture of him with his helmet off, and he looked like quite a character.
He's played pretty well, but then he's had stretches where he hasn't played for. I've imagined in Edmonton, and I do some stuff for one of their sports talk podcasts, and they must be going crazy because Skinner is so erratic. He's not Grant Fuhr where you built everything around him and he was going to make all these legendary saves during the Gretzky era. He has stretches where he is phenomenal. He gets red hot, and they have stretches in which, oh my God, his pucks are at his feet and he's kicking rebounds out and they're knocking him back into the net. They must be going crazy in Edmonton just with him, but he's the best they got.
It's like Wild Thing from Major League, the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just something you don't expect is going to happen.
We'll see. I think it has to happen in front of Stuart Skinner. It's got to happen with the defense. Let's move on.
Okay, let's go to Gordon. And he goes, "Hey, Lay and John, just want to wish you all fathers out there a happy Father's Day. Great show as always."
Very glad to have you on board. You guys really make this thing work. And like I preach to you people all the time, you can really help us. You can help us by giving us a thumbs up, and you can help us by giving us a 5-star rating. That helps us enormously. And like John and I are so proud of you people, because we just pushed beyond 8,000 subscribers just on the YouTube channel. That doesn't include what we're doing on X and what we're doing. What are the other ones running?
Instagram, TikTok, Rumble.
We're all over the place.
Yeah.
But to go in 2 years' time to go to over 8,000 subscribers, that's kind of cool. And so we salute you.
Okay. And thank you very much, folks. And let's go here to Jason. He goes, "Oh, and the Bills. How you liking that Joey Bosa signing? Ha, 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 Mr. Glass."
Well, he does get hurt a lot. I always thought he was an undersized guy to be a true superstar defensive end. He's got great speed. He's got a high motor, but I think he's awful light to play defensive end. And I don't know if he's truly quick enough to be a real blitz linebacker, but boy, he can't stay healthy. And he's had every conceivable injury. As I said, I went back and looked. He had 9 different injuries with the Chargers. And he played pretty well for the Chargers for a long period of time. He's not a $30 million a year man, but boy, he was always nicked. And now he gets hurt in the first OTA workout in Buffalo, and he's out till August with a calf. So there's no doubt that he's a freak as it relates to training, but his brother Nick Bosa has not had the number of injuries that Joey's had.
Now, do you believe in the concept of injury prone? Do you think that some people are more likely to be injured based on their body structure?
It's some of it's got to do with body structure, but the bulk of his injuries, have they just come because they're fluke injuries, or they're coming because he's getting wiped out by somebody? You'd have to break down and say, okay, he suffered a hamstring chasing somebody down. He suffered this calf in practice. That's different than suffering a knee injury when somebody hit you from behind because he got blocked into you.
But like some guys like have tight, ligaments, right? And so they might be more prone to certain kinds of different kinds of injuries.
Yeah, it's tough. He's been a good player. Is he a superstar? No, but he's a really good player. But he's had a lot of injuries too.
Okay, let's go here to Mike. Is this Aztec Mike? I think it might be. He goes, "Hey, do you think this is shoulder surgery? Do you think this shoulder surgery affects how much Michael King gets paid next year?"
Well, if he doesn't get back on the mound, then obviously his dollar value is going to go down. And I'm a little stunned this far into this thing that they really don't have a program to figure out how to treat him. Because usually if it's a shoulder impingement, you treat that with weight training programs. Or if it's a shoulder impingement, you can do injections, plasma platelet or cortisone, etc. But they haven't done any of that. So to me, it seems like it's a real strange set of circumstances that they have not figured out a medical plan for Michael King. We got half a season, but see, if they're talking he's going to be out another 6 weeks, Mike, that's got to be a concern, because now we're pushing into July, and he's got to be ramped up too. It's not that he throws a light switch, I'm ready to pitch in the next 6 innings and throw 94 pitches. There's a whole ramp up process to get him ready to pitch the next 6 innings. So I'm just kind of amazed it's taken so long.
Well, it seems like it's an injury that they've never encountered before.
That's what they say.
From a baseball medical perspective. So they're trying to figure out how to come up with a plan. But I mean, to answer Mike's question, assuming that Michael King comes out of this and is healthy again, I don't think this affects his value at all. Because we saw how great he was last year. We saw how great he was in the early part of the season this year. He's going to go out on the open market, and there's going to be a lot of money offered to him, because that's we saw in every offseason.
Yeah, but that's different if the guy does not come back to be Michael King the rest of the season.
But people are still going to take a chance on him. I mean, Craig Kimbrell just got signed by the Rangers, didn't he?
Yeah, but that was for a minimum veterans contract.
Yeah, I mean, they're desperate for pitching, man. They'll pay.
Okay, we'll see where it goes. I hope he gets a chance to bounce back, but I'm just stunned we're this late into this process and they still don't have a game plan.
Okay, let's go to some social media here, and let's talk about the Steelers. This is with Lenny. He goes, "Hey, people's opinions will change when they start winning. If they make the playoffs, defense probably wanted a young quarterback out of the draft."
Well, they do have a quarterback, a young quarterback, Will Howard, and maybe Aaron Rodgers is the bridge to get them to Will Howard a year from now or 2 years from now. And, Will Howard had an absolutely phenomenal season at Ohio State, but there's a learning curve jumping to the next level. But at the end of the day, look at the 6 quarterbacks that have been in Pittsburgh since Ben Roethlisberger had to retire because of the massive injuries that he had. And Ben had just a Hall of Fame career. Those guys just don't grow on trees. You just don't pluck them off like you're taking a lime or an orange or a lemon off a tree. We'll see if Rodgers can really put up good numbers. I think he's still got gas left in the tank. And the one thing is he's surrounded by a really great defense in Pittsburgh. So they're not going to expose him. They're not going to ask him to throw 45 times per game, but they will ask him to throw the tight ends and their wide receivers. And they do have a history of running the football with fair degree of success. And they got a lot of young guys in the offensive line. They've force-fed 2 years in a row now. And these guys, they wake up one day and all of a sudden that's a pretty good collective group that's growing together. So I think Pittsburgh's going to be a lot better than anybody realizes. And that division now, they got problems. Baltimore's Baltimore. But Pittsburgh right there with Aaron Rodgers is going to make a hell of a lot more plays on the defense too. And Cleveland is in just total disarray. And Cincinnati's got all this internal trouble. And Joe Burrow can't do it by himself if they don't have any defense. And right now, Cincinnati doesn't seem willing to pay its star defensive pass rusher. And the number 1 pick walked out of camp this morning. So there's some trouble in the AFC North.
Okay, I got to get it. Hopefully you can give me a fair answer to this question. What does Mrs. Hacksaw think about Aaron Rodgers going to the Steelers? I know she's a big Steeler fan.
I married this great Christian woman. And sometimes on Sunday when we're watching Steeler football, the stuff that comes out of her mouth from this great Christian woman, you wouldn't believe it. So I am sure. I mean, she knows who Aaron Rodgers is, and she's seen Aaron Rodgers make plays.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that she's more excited about Pittsburgh Steeler football right now at quarterback than she's been in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's interesting from a fan's perspective. I can see some fans being excited and other fans being kind of disappointed. Not a whole lot in the middle.
At the end of the day, what did you have last year? What did you have the year before?
Nothing.
I mean, I'm sorry. Russell Wilson's got 200,000 miles on him and is at the end of his career, and Justin Fields has never become a complete quarterback. He's been a starter now for 3 years or so and keeps losing his job. And prior to that was Mason Rudolph. And then prior to that, it was Kenny Pickett, who was a raw rookie they threw out there, and that didn't work out. So Aaron Rodgers is a proven commodity.
Yeah, he is. He is.
I just told my wife, you didn't even know you knew what some of those words were that you said. She yelled one day, this is the end of the Roethlisberger era. And I like Ben, and he was a great quarterback. And at the end, he was throwing a lot of picks because the team wasn't completely good around him. He was hurt. He couldn't move the pocket. And she yelled at the TV so loud on one of his interceptions, she scared the golden retriever. It was his lying on the floor. Dog jumped up and left the room. So that's how it is in my house sometimes.
Sometimes there's a disturbance in the force, right? Yes. Okay, let's keep going. Let's talk a little RoboUmp here, and this is with Joe. He goes, hey, I hate the idea of a challenge system. A player will have to decide if he wants to a challenge or if the challenge should be saved for later. Getting the call right should not be part of a team strategy.
Well, the question is, if you're going to have the RoboUmp, maybe you need more than 2 challenges per game because that's what's being proposed. During spring training, when it was all experimental and it didn't mean anything, you can't tell me who won the 3rd exhibition game between the Padres and Mariners. Nobody gives a crap. But we had everybody doing this, and they'd review it, lickety split.
Yeah, it was fast.
It was fast. So make it more than 2. Make it 5 per team. Now, should it be a manager's choice? Should it be the guy, the batter? Should it be the catcher? There's you got to find some chemistry. Saving it though for the most important time of the game, like when the bases are loaded in the 8th inning. I understand a piece of that equation too.
Just got to get it right. Just don't play games with it. Just get it right. And I think the NFL, for the most part, is getting it right. So Major League Baseball needs to catch up.
Yeah, and the technology we saw in spring training, they get it done.
Yeah,
and the electronics are right there.
Yeah.
So it's going to be voted in. I'm almost positive it's going to be voted in. I guess the only debate is, will it be 2 challengers per team, or maybe make it 5? Who should call it though? Should the the batter have the right to make that call, or should the pitcher, or does it have to come from the dugout? That's something that's still got to be negotiated, decided by MLB.
Okay.
All right.
Keep going here. Hey, let's talk a little Padres and Manny. And this is this guy, I can't even read what his screen name is, M1G. And he watched the video that you recorded talking about how Manny is a new man.
Yep.
Yeah. And he says facts. He goes, I'm a Dodger fan and obviously a baseball fan as well. And Manny is a hell of a ball player. He's definitely matured and looking good. Took him a minute, but he's here and looking forward to see what he can do for the Padres.
Yeah, I think he's very different. I think he's grown exceptionally. He's a baller. I mean, you just think about how many games he plays, how many innings he plays, how many at-bats he plays. He's on the field all the time. And I'll tell you, the wear and tear factor, you go in a clubhouse, I've been in a Padre clubhouse, you see these guys in the middle of the season, towards the end of the season, how beat up they are and what a grind it is. And yet this guy is on the field every minute of every game. So is Fernando Tatis. So I'm really impressed with Manny's become. When he was in Baltimore, I knew Oriole guys who covered the Birds that just didn't like him as a person. Obviously went to Dodger Stadium for a short period of time and did not act very well. Turned a lot of people off with his I don't have to be a Johnny Hustle, and turned a lot of people off with read the back of my baseball card. So, but he's played really well, etc. And all guys are going to go through slumps. And if a team around you gets hurt, then he's not going to look the same quality of pitches that he'd look at when the batting order is totally healthy. There's stretches of time when you're looking at a batting order that's got her eyes, Tatis, Machado, Jackson Merrill. That's not a bad 4 or 5 right there in a row. You can get yourself in big trouble. Yeah. But if a bunch of these guys are hurt or not hitting or slumped, all of a sudden the star doesn't get to see as many quality strikes and pitches as he would if everybody around him was doing very well. They're just going through a bad cycle right now with what's happened to El Nino, and Ariza's plate discipline's kind of weird at this point. So,
and then 5, 6, and 7 in the order, you don't know what you're going to get. Gavin Sheets, Xander Bogaerts, Jake Cronenworth. I mean, imagine if those 7 dudes were firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, if Xander was what he was with the Red Sox, if Jake was early Jake, you say, wow.
Wow. Yeah. And I guess got to give it up on Manny, because I've loved the whole Manny experience since he's come to San Diego. And the cool thing that the Padres did today is they will often have this sort of it's like a fashion walk where they exit the stadium and get on the bus because they go on the road trip. Right. And usually the players are wearing something cool and they're carrying some luggage. Well, this morning they did it. And they were with their families, with their children, and in some cases with a girlfriend or whatever. And Manny came out pushing a stroller, and the wife was carrying their young child. And, Manny, you could see he was in father mode. He was in dad mode. And it was nice to see that, just that little glimpse of it.
He keeps this up. He's probably a Hall of Famer, which is kind of I don't think anybody ever believed that he'd be a Hall of Famer. But
he's on track.
Exactly. I mean, just continues to hit it. So we'll see where it goes. John doesn't want me to ever bring up again that the season might be over by next Thursday night.
I know you're doom and gloom.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't give you these stats.
Yeah. You tell it like it is. How it goes sell. All right, let's go here to Lawrence. Talk a little bit about Dodgers. He goes, there's only one NL rival and one AL rival for the Dodgers, and they are not San Diego. These have been some good Padre teams, but they will fall short.
Got 162 games on the schedule. We'll find out. Guys making reference to Dodger-Giant rivalry as being more important than anything else, if not equal to Dodger-Yankee rivalry. And I guess I understand that because there is a lot of history there.
That's just Dodger fan taking a kick at Padre fan right there. When the players tell you that going to Petco Park, the Dodger players, Mookie and Teoscar and all those guys.
And Dave Roberts.
Yeah. And they say, man, we go to Petco, this is game on. This is the intensity. It's like a playoff game in the regular season. So we know who the rivals are. Yeah, we know that the Dodger-Giant rivalry goes back, to the turn of the previous century. But the Giants are actually doing pretty damn good this year.
Beyond what I ever thought.
They're in second place right now. And I know the 3 teams are bunched together by less than 2 games. I mean, if the Giants keep this up, and we didn't expect the Giants, maybe they're going to take the spot that we thought Arizona was going to have.
Could well be. It's exciting at Petco. It's electric at Petco. And why the hell did you sell your tickets to Dodger Padre game to some other fan? I was amazed at how many guys are showing up wearing Dodger blue.
What do you think about the whole thing where Dodger fans can't buy on the Padre website if they're in the wrong zip code? You know, because I think they limited it to.
Yeah, but you bypass that. You just
Yeah.
call your brother who lives in El Cajon and he'll buy the tickets.
Yeah. Well, you got to figure out a way around. You get a bookie or I don't know, whatever. You can find out other ways around it. But what do you think of this? The message, though. I mean, in some ways, it makes sense. You know, the Padres don't want their stadium taken over by all the Dodger fans. But in the end, it's like whack-a-mole. You can't prevent it from happening.
Yeah.
And it just looks weak. It sounds weak.
I was really stunned on the Tuesday-Wednesday game. It felt and it sounded like a Dodger stadium crowd. Now, granted, when the Padres did something good, Padre fan exploded. But man, when the Dodgers did something good, you could not hear yourself think.
Oh, yeah.
It was
It's just fantastic. I mean, just everything about the series has just been great.
No, let's go to next social media to slam me or slam you.
Okay. Oh, well, this is going to slam you. All right. And this is from John. And he goes, Lee, where did you get La Salsa, for Manny Machado? He's the ministro, the minister. Salsa, not cool. However, I may have missed something along the way.
Minister of Defense. I came up with La Salsa a couple of years ago when I was trying to find something to match El Nino. I came up with El Nino, I think, before anybody ever did before. So,
well, La Salsa, it's like feminine.
No, I thought, I didn't realize that. I'm glad you brought me into the modern times. I was saying La Salsa in terms of Mexican food, hot.
Well, I have a funny dog story. You might appreciate this. So, when we lived at our previous home, we got a lab mix, and we wanted to name him Salsa because of the Seinfeld episode. Do you ever see why does everyone like salsa? Because they think they like saying the word salsa, so it's a Seinfeld thing. And so we named our dog Salsa, and then Salsa was a boy. And then one of my friends who was from Argentina says, why did you name your dog Salsa? That's a girl's name. It's feminine.
I didn't know that.
But I do like talk show hosts coming up with nicknames for players. I think that's a cool thing to do.
I viewed it as La Salsa, meaning red hot Mexican stuff.
Okay.
To honor how hot Machado can be at times in the field and at the plate.
Okay. We've got one more social media. And if you want, we can go back to the live chat because we got a couple more there too. Okay. So let's go here to talk about a little about the RoboUmp from Off the Boulevard, San Diego. And he says, RoboUmps will slow the game down and make it boring. Challenges for pitches will make things better, but let's not get carried away. What do you think, San Diego? Well,
I would have said that last winter, but after what we experienced, Boulevard, in spring training, they did this thing lickety-split. The average time from the player putting his hand on the helmet, review it, to the umpire cracking the mic saying strike one was 17 seconds. That's not a big delay.
No.
So they've mastered the mechanics of how to use the RoboUmp. So I don't think it's a big thing. To me, the more important thing is how many challenges you're going to give, because you want to get the calls correct. Are you going to use a challenge in the second inning if the bases are loaded, and it should be ball four with the bases loaded in the second inning rather than strike three? Or do you save all that to the eighth and ninth innings, which is really critical? So that's what baseball's going to have to determine. I think they need more than two challenges because the technology, Boulevard, has been proven that we can get it done in 15 seconds or 17 seconds.
Now, just do some future casting with me. And where do you see this actually going? I mean, we could have the ball and the strike eventually called immediately, like within a second of the pitch, where it could be resolved and confirmed within that 10 to 15 second, in between pitch time.
Well, you're talking about then taking the umpire out of the game completely. Balls and strikes.
That's the next thing is that if we got to a fully automated balls and strikes, do you have umps? Could you even have computer like chips in people's shoes and on the bases to call out and safe? I mean, I wonder how far this could actually go.
I don't think they'd ever let it get there. It's still a game played by humans, and it's got to be umpired and officiated by human beings. But if you got the technology to make sure you get it perfect, and again, 52% of the calls that were challenged in spring training in the Cactus League and the Grapefruit Circuit were overturned. So The umpire's having a tough time with the strike zone because what the pitchers throw is really wicked stuff. But if you can make sure that the calls that are challenged, you get them right 52% of the time, why not?
Just get it right.
That's right.
That's the thing. Just get it right.
Okay, move on here.
Okay, well, we're going to go back then to the live chat, and Jason jumped in, and so did Roy. So let's start here with Roy, and he says, Hacksaw, what do you think of Machado swinging 3-0 with the bases loaded? He should have passed the baton. Pitcher was struggling. Don't want to hear he earned the right to swing. That was selfish, in my opinion.
Well, it was not Machado. Machado, Tatis, and Arise were swinging at stuff out of the zone or counts in their favor against pitchers, most notably Kopech, who couldn't get the ball over the plate. I mean, when it's 3-0, make them throw a strike. Don't go chasing something and you pop it up and wipe out the rally. And that happened multiple times in the series. Is it selfish? No, it's just guys probably really trying to put the ball in play, want to make something happen, and maybe feeling the pressure because they're not hitting very well. But that happened a little bit too often in the Dodgers series, especially with Arise. He was reaching for stuff that was out of the zone and taking them out of rallies along the way. So there needs to be a little bit more bat control, especially when, I sat there and I watched. I said, what the hell are you swinging? Kopech can't throw strikes. Why are you swinging at stuff up here?
Well, I sensed in that whole series, the energy in the stadium
amped the players up.
It did. And so you found that the players were trying to do one thing too much, trying to be the hero a little bit too much. Like, for example, that base hit to center field and Gavin Sheets gets thrown out of home plate. You saw that coming. I mean, because Gavin Sheets doesn't run well.
He lumbers and Pajes has a cannon for an arm.
Yeah.
Now, he threw a hell of a strike to get the ball to Will Smith.
Yeah, and then Smith had to rotate over to make the tag. But what I saw, Gavin Sheets lumbering down the third baseline, this ain't going to work. It's not going to work.
Bad decision.
Yeah, so they're trying to push it too hard. You got to play within yourself.
Okay, let's do one more here.
Okay, and let's go here to Frank. And he says, hey, does anyone in San Diego really think the Padres can compete with the Dodgers? I like to think that the Chargers can win a Super Bowl.
Probably wrong on both occasions. In terms of the Padres, they're not healthy, and they're very thin in pitching. Dodgers are not healthy, but the difference is the Dodgers are hitting the ball off the wall and hitting home runs and all that. And the Dodgers are slugging their way to victories, whereas the Padres are scuffling. It's great. I mean, the Padres have played a lot of edge-of-your-seat baseball. They have a lot of one-run games this season. They've thrown 12 shutouts, which is kind of hard to believe considering all the injuries they've had to their starting rotation. But this is 162 games, so I don't know if the Padres can do this. I mean, John would tell you, a.k.a. make an excuse, well, we're going to be a wild card team. Okay, maybe they are. In terms of the Chargers, tough division. You're in Kansas City's division, and here comes Denver. Denver's gotten better and better 2 years running with Sean Payton. Obviously, the Chargers got the right quarterback. I think they've had 2 good drafts in a row with Joe Ortiz, but you got to learn to do it. And so the young receivers that they've got, and they got this young tight end from Syracuse. He caught 7 passes yesterday. 7. And he's catching everything in all different types of routes and seams. But we don't know what their defensive tackles are going to be like because they lost their 2 cornerstone starters on defensive tackle. There's no Joey Bosa. So there's still some question marks there, but you go play the schedule and we'll see. But they do have the quarterback. I think that the potential will be pretty good. When we get to August, and then we'll do our preview, we'll do division by division. I'll give you a 1-loss record, but they're good. Are they great? No. And John disagrees with me. I mean, I'm a huge Justin Herbert fan, but at the end of the day, they got punched in the mouth 7 times by good teams last year. When I played somebody good, they got punched in the mouth. And by the way, John's a shocker. Justin Herbert's never won a playoff game. And the last time we saw Justin Herbert, he threw 4 interceptions against Houston in the postseason.
Maybe trying too hard there too.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're not a complete team. They're making progress under Ortiz. I do like the draft choice of Omarion Hampton at running back because he's heavy duty. And now the question is, people will say, well, what the hell does that mean, Lee? You still got the same offensive line that couldn't run block last year. Why do you think they'll be better this year? So there's probably a little bit of truth in that too.
I was just thinking while you were talking about Padre Dodgers and can they be competitive? And, you know, from a financial perspective, it's apples and oranges. But in some ways, though, it's not all that dissimilar from the Yankee Red Sox rivalry, because, you know, that goes back 100 years. But if you go back 100 years, there's a lot of futility for the Red Sox.
Yes.
And the Yankees winning championship after championship over and over again. It's kind of like the Dodger Padre thing. And I think when the Red Sox broke through, what was it, in 04?
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be just like the day the Padres break through.
You think we'll still be doing a podcast when it happens?
I know, yeah. Hopefully we're still alive and kicking.
Listen, we hope you have enjoyed this podcast. We enjoy having you with us. We say thank you for helping make this thing so great.